I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Music Theory Tuition series where I work with you step by step through the ABRSM Discovering Music Theory grades. I'll work through every single exercise and explain everything you need to know. You can access information about the books I have available to help you on my website. Go to sharonbill.com. For advert-free and longer lessons, you can become a patron at patreon.com/SharonBill. If you can give me a like, that would be super, and please do subscribe to my channel to stay updated. You can support this channel by buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/SharonBill. We move on now to page 19 of the Grade 2 Discovering Music Theory workbook. We move on to part 3 of Rhythm, which is chapter 4 in the workbook. And we move on to the topic of grouping notes together, where we beam together semiquavers or quavers, or a combination of both, or dotted quavers and semiquavers and so on. And generally speaking, the rule is that each new beat must be reflected in a new group of notes. So we beam to show where each new beat falls. This is the case definitely in crotchet beats when it comes to either semiquavers or a mixture of semiquavers and quavers, or even dotted quavers and semiquavers. There are a few little exceptions when it comes to just grouping quavers together, where we can group together a minim beat's worth if it's just quavers alone. And it's worth just remembering a few of the exercises from grade 1, where if I just take this opportunity for a little bit of revision, if we have a time signature of 3 crotchet beats per bar, and there are 6 quavers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can have all of those together. However, in 4/4, when we have 4 crotchet beats per bar, you can have 4 quavers, which are a minim beat here, for example. However, we cannot beam over the middle of the bar. I think it's because 4/4 is quite a big bar. There are lots of beats, and we just need to see each half of the bar clearly. And so let's say, for example, we had crotchet, and then we had 4 quavers crotchet. So we would not be able to beam over the halfway part. We have to beam and show each crotchet beat there. We don't beam over the midpoint of the bar. Other than that, we just keep the groups of quavers alone in minims, apart from this exception, and then each new crotchet beat requires a new group beamed together to show where each beat falls, because for a performer we need to see very simply beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. Imagine if you saw this bar and they weren't beamed at all. That is so very difficult to read, isn't it? So if we show where each beat falls, it's so much easier for the musician to read, so that we can easily keep time. You imagine you're sight reading a piece of music and you need to easily see where each beat falls, and that's what our job is. And the same principle is true of rests. We need to show where each new beat falls, apart from some different exceptions where we can show a whole bar or a half bar. The principle is exactly the same. And so we need to take into consideration our time signature, and then we need to show each new beat, or we can use the odd exception, and we can read here some examples of what we can follow. We can see all the permutations here as an example to refer back to. And so we can see here in exercise 1, we have 4 crotchet beats per bar. So there is a crotchet, of course, there's 1 crotchet beat, there's a crotchet beat, there's a crotchet beat, there's a crotchet beat, There is the halfway mark that we don't beam over, and we can see that they can be joined together, and now it's much easier to read 1, 2, 3, 4 crochet beats per bar. And so let's look at this next one together. So now we're looking to show 3 crochet beats per bar. So there's crochet beat 1. Of course we don't beam crochets, otherwise that will turn it into a quaver, won't it? Because basically beaming is just linking up these little tails, really, isn't it? And then we know that 4 semi-quavers equals 1 crochet. If we just diagram that out, we know that a crochet, just come down a little bit, divides into 2 quavers, and if we divide again, 1, 2, 3, 4 semi-quavers, there is a crochet beat. So 4 semi-quavers, or we could think of it, if this helps your maths a little bit, there's a crochet beat, 2 halves, 4 quarters of a beat makes a whole. So all of those give us beat 2. So we would need to group those together, and then these final 2 quavers will give us beat 3. So we beam those together, and we can see beat 1, beat 2, beat 3 very clearly. So we write that out again. I'm keeping all of the notes aligned so that I know that everything's properly spaced, and also I'm not going to get lost and lose track of what notes I've written. Now I'm going to do the outside notes. This is just the way I do things. I just find it easier. Beam them together once, then I can get my stems correct, and then I'll fill in the semi-quaver beam, and that's that. And then 2 quavers, beam those. There we go. So that is so much easier to read. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. So perhaps now you feel that you can go on to the next exercises. Do try these on your own. I do suggest that you have a go on your own. Always work in pencil. It's okay to make mistakes. This is where we're okay making mistakes. Best to make them now rather than in the exam, isn't it? And you will learn much more thoroughly by making those mistakes. If you work in pencil, it's easy enough to erase it out and you'll know for next time. So here we have this time signature, if you remember, is 2/2, 2 minim beats per bar. But that's kind of the general time frame that we're working in, but we still need to beam quavers and semi-quavers to show a crochet beat. And so there's 1 minim beat, there's another minim beat, and we need to finish this crochet part together, and then that will complete the second minim beat of that bar. Of course we don't beam a crochet, that would become a quaver then, because we're just literally linking these tails together. So we're just copying for the first part of the bar, and then if I just get the note heads in place, we know that 1/2 and 2 quarters gives us a beat. And so those last 2 quarters need a second beam. And if you want to just check the maths of that, we can see there's a crochet beat, 1/2 and 2 quarters makes a whole, doesn't it? And so if you've not done so already, I do suggest that you now try the rest of these, and then we'll check through them together. So I'm hoping you've had a go. Let's check through these answers together. We're looking to show 3 crochet beats per bar. There's 1 crochet beat. Now we know that 4 semi-quavers makes a crochet, so we're going to have to beam those together. And then 1/2 and 2 quarters gives us our final crochet beat, so we're going to have to beam those together. That's the thinking done. Now we've got the nice bit of just practicing our manuscript skills and just writing out the notes. Let's do the outside ones first. And I know I'm going to get the stems the same length. I always do the stems going from top to bottom, because if you do the note head and then sort of in one movement, you tend to veer off. So it keeps it nice and straight going top to bottom with the stems. Then we have a quaver, semi. I'll do the outside notes again. join the beam, and then of course that's going to need 2 beams at the end to make them semiquavers, and that is so much easier to read, isn't it? Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3. And now let's move on. So this is our common time, which you remember from grade 1, means 4 crotchet beats per bar, 4/4. We've got 2 beats there, so here is our halfway mark. 2 beats here, 2 beats here, so we're not going to be in any trouble bridging over the halfway mark. So we know that we can have a half and 2/4 gives us a crotchet beat, and there's the second crotchet beat, so we can just beam that to show the new crotchet beat. So beats 1 and 2, here's beat 3. Just beam those together, and then we've got quaver 2 semi, so a second beam goes there, and then there's our final crotchet beat. That's that one. And then here we have 3 minim beats per bar, and we have a crochet and 2 quavers. That gives us beat 1, so we need to beam those 2 together to show the crochet beat, and then we need to show those 2 are a crochet beat. That gives us minim beat 2, there's minim beat 3. So we have crochet, quaver, quaver. That's beat 1. Here comes beat 2, crochet, quaver, quaver, minim. And that's that page completed. I hope this is helpful to your studies. Please do like and subscribe to stay updated. If you'd like to support this channel, you can buy me a coffee, and for advert-free lessons you can become a patron. Do visit my website where you'll find many resources available to help you. Visit sharonbill.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.